Hello, Brian McCarthy here from Bold&Break, and today we are going to talk about an interesting topic within the motion and design industry. Motion graphics and just general design are jumping into industries that it hasn't really before. The demand for motion graphics is becoming greater, and I just want to talk about what it's like to work within different industries and what to expect when you walk into these environments. The four main ones we're going to talk about: tech, advertising agencies, your more regular places where designers would work. We're going to talk about direct to business, and this would be relevant if you're a freelancer or running a small studio, even if you're working in a studio. We're going to talk about what's it like to work in a studio, which can be very different to, the latter two, and then what it's like to work in-house, and that would be for a business or for an organization, but you're working within their premises and in their marketing team. That concept is relatively new. Let's get started, break down each one. Any questions below, please say. Subscribe, get involved. What are your experiences? These are my personal experiences. Have yours differed? Let's get going. We're going to start with the first one motion designers find themselves working in most of the time. Tech, advertising, creative agencies, armies of designers and freelancers work for these companies. It's a kind of a fast-paced industry. In this environment, you're expected to be in full production mode. Your creative ideas need to push that a little bit to the side. This is where you come in with your design expertise and production expertise to get stuff out the door really fast. Unless you're a rock star or sought after in the industries, these companies look for a designer to solve visual problems and to solve them relatively fast. Most of the time when the brief comes to you in these companies, the idea has been signed off. So there's no reason to give kind of feedback on the idea, whether it's good or bad. That's your opinion. Keep that to yourself and just get going, and always offer solutions in these environments. They're very quick paced. If you're to work in an environment like this full time, it's a very social environment. You're kind of expected to, integrate a little bit and go to social events. The companies are usually very big. You could work in a very small boutique agency. You get a mix of people within the creative industry: copywriters, account managers who have experience dealing with creative accounts or managing creative expectations. It's a large scale environment most of the time, and you're expected to fit into a cog within that wheel. If you like working in small teams, this may not be for you, depending on the agency you want to go for. There's a lot of work there. If you can perform well in an agency, kind of tech, advertising, digital, whatever, the work is secure if you can keep up with the pace. The next one I want to talk about is direct to business. Now, this is more geared towards freelancers, but crosses the scope of all the categories we're going to talk about here, because at the end of the day, the businesses, the companies that don't deal with design are the ones that pay our bills, essentially, and we need to respect that. Direct to business is an interesting one. As a freelancer or as a studio, you can strike a beautiful balance between being really creative and having a really nice design and polished look. You get a little bit more control because the business is coming to you about something they don't understand, which is design or motion or video editing, anything in that creative realm, and they're coming to you. That's because they're looking for someone in that field of expertise. So they're looking for you to come up maybe with an idea or provide content for them. Sometimes some of these companies will have a marketing team, and that's becoming more common. So the marketing team will have a creative input, and that's important too, because they want to feel like they're a part of the process and they're collaborating. Otherwise, they're kind of spending money on being told what to do, which no one really wants. But I find personally, I prefer to work direct to business because there's just more collaboration and there's less breakdown in communication if there's no middle person. It's definitely becoming more common for very corporate entities, property companies, finance companies to rebrand and look for something really crisp and creative. And it's happening more and more. So businesses that used to look really boring and mundane, I would advise, reach out to them. They're looking to break away from that kind of image. And motion designers and just designers in general can help those businesses break away from that typical corporate image, because they will look different to their competitors. And there's a huge opportunity there. The third one, maybe the most old school of these environments, is the studio. Studio can differ studio to studio. Generally, if you're working in a studio, the pace is super fast. You're expected to kind of really keep up, and you're expected to really collaborate as a team and be a visual problem solver. So studios tend to have a bigger sense of camaraderie amongst the team because it's a smaller team trying to punch above their weight constantly. So if you can gel in that studio environment, you can make some amazing connections, amazing friends, and you might carry them for life. It just has that kind of, almost sports team mentality. Offering creative input is only kind of given to those who are veterans within the studio environment. And even then it's still difficult because studios have a range of clients. I think personally, it's the toughest of the environments we're about to talk about to run and work in. You're dealing with agencies, you're going direct to business, you're dealing with different types of agencies, tech agencies, digital agencies. You're also looking for that kind of golden client that you can go to direct. And if you're within the pipeline there, if you're a designer working in a studio like that, the pressure is immense. And usually there's some overtime, and especially if you're junior, you've got to get your teeth in and just go for it. People who can't keep up with that pace, they'll kind of fall behind. And it doesn't mean you're a bad designer, it just might mean it's not the environment for you. You might be more suited to a slower pace. The studio environment is more relevant to entertainment especially, and some motion studios will have their pitch to agencies and pitch to clients direct. Video games, studios are getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the industry grows, but the expectations are getting more and more. Just be aware of that. Just because it's a big studio doesn't mean it's going to be, an easy pace. As the industry matures, we're realizing that we can't have burnout and we can't have people working crazy hours, and parental care is important. So we are evolving within that environment as well. And some of the people that work in these environments are insanely talented, and you'll never have heard of them. You walk into a studio and someone will be able to do something within 10 minutes that might take you 4 days. And it's that kind of environment. So just be aware of that when you're looking to work in studio environments. Okay, now my fourth one is in-house. This can apply to any industry in the world: medical, science, business, finance, anything outside the realm of what we know. A lot of businesses, and even large businesses, corporations, are realizing that their image may be a little dated. It may be a little bland compared to the competitors. And there is this sense and urgency from these companies to, reach out, branch out, do something more interesting. I've worked in a charity in-house. It was a youth charity. You learn how to pitch your ideas to people within the business, and that's an interesting skill to take out of that environment and then use as a freelancer or use in a studio as you climb the ranks. In-house can be also chaotic because a lot of people, and it's not their fault at all, don't understand the demands required to get an idea out. It might be 3 o'clock, someone might come over to you, like, I need this done. They don't know that. You need to professionally kind of make them aware that, we need this much time and we need this much budget. And there's a huge learning curve in doing that, and learning how to sell what either you want to do or what you can do to people within these teams. And it's definitely one of the more interesting environments growing at the moment, where people are valuing the skills that designers have. Don't shy away from it because it may look boring or it's boring work. You can make something very interesting for a business and they'll love it. Granted, you have to keep within their brand guidelines, and there's a whole kind of trope of professionalism to keep within this. You just can't be an artist and say, I'm going to do this for you, and take something away from their brand. But it's still an interesting environment to learn how to sell. It's very helpful as well once you move on from that type of business, because you start to build relationships with people that might go into other businesses. It's like, I remember that person. They did a motion graphic when they were working in this finance startup. Don't snub it or anything because it might look a little boring from the outside. There's loads you can achieve internally in-house. This is kind of a short synopsis of how different environments kind of work differently. I hope it was helpful, especially if you're kind of starting out and you're where do I want to work? I would suggest try everything. Go from sector to sector. You're only going to gain from it. You're only going to learn how different environments work. You'll be able to connect with a larger network of people, and that grows your network. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know if you have any questions below. Did you find your experience in these environments different to mine? Topics like this, let me know if you find them interesting, if you want me to do any other industry kind of related topics. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.